Who are you going to give it all to? Believe it or not, we're going to give it all to one or the other. I've heard so many people give their testimony and talk about what good sinners they were. I've heard people say that they absolutely were the best sinner. And I've looked at some of them and thought, well, why are you not such a good Christian? I mean, no, really. I mean, they talk about how they would do this and do that and do this. And then I've thought, well, you won't hardly come to church. You go to all these clubs, done all this drinking you're saying and partying. But seriously, they were being driven by a spirit that they worship. We think of Satan worship. We think about these people, in these hoods or whatever, and you ain't got to do all that stuff. The occult to worship the devil. You just got to be the opposite of what God is. And you're worshiping the devil. There's a warfare, and it's for your worship. Now we're going to close. And I want to ask you tonight. Everybody in here knows their own heart. You know what your value is. You know whether you love God or not. But I'm going to ask them to come back to the music. The last 3 or 4 times I've preached, I have mentioned Samson's parents, his mom and dad. And I can't get over it. Because I was reading the depiction of God coming to his parents. She's barren. She can't have a child. And she says a man of God showed up. He said, you're going to have a baby. God's going to give you a son. And she tells her husband, a man of God showed up today. So the angel of the Lord said we're going to have a baby. The Bible doesn't say, but I'm sure, because she was happy, they'd been wanting a baby. And God shows up. The man of God, the angel of the Lord, the Bible called him. And her husband says, well, I'm going to pray. And I'm going to ask the Lord if he'll send that man of God back this way. And he'll tell me that. So he prayed. And the man of God came back. The angel of the Lord. And he tells the man the same thing. And I'm going to tell you what intrigued me about the whole story. Was that this one showed up to this people that can't have a baby. And he tells them, you're going to have a baby. And immediately, they just believed him. And he says to him, tell me your name. Because when it happens, boy, here's faith. When it happens, we want to know who we can honor. The man of God looks at him and says, you can't know my name. It is secret. Now here's the amazing thing about that. If you look up that word secret in that Hebrew scripture, it is a word pilah or pileh, however they would pronounce it. And what the translation really was wonderful. So he really told him, my name's Wonderful. He was the angel of God's presence. And he visited these people. And the warfare was, are you going to believe God and worship him? What are you going to do with this great promise? That's what we're faced with tonight. Are we going to believe his great promises? So he asked him, I need to know your names for when this happens, we're going to know who to honor. My name's Wonderful. We're going to make an offering for you. We want you to eat with us. He said, I won't partake of any of your meat or your bread. But they made that offering. And that one that was called Wonderful, the Bible said when the smoke of that offering started going up to heaven, that one called Wonderful, he did wonders in their sight when they worshiped. And then he just got up in the smoke and just went away. He just inhabited the praises of his people. He came down. He gave a promise. They worshiped. He did wonders. And he went back to heaven. I just wonder tonight for what God has promised. Would anybody worship him way before it even happened? Because they did. I told them this morning, there wasn't a baby bump. There wasn't a morning sickness. There wasn't a pregnancy test they got down at Walmart. It was just a word. But just out of a word, they worshiped. And when they did, the Bible said wonders were performed in front of them. And then he went back to heaven. As they sang, if there's any promise that God's given you, this living book's full of them. Any prayer you're praying, would you just stand up tonight and would you go ahead and worship him? Not because you've seen it, not because it's already happened, but because he said he would. Because when they did, God did wonders. Y'all sing.